Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for Westworld Season 4, Episode 3, Ane Folle. This video is a part of a series of videos where I cover episodes of Westworld, so I have to start with the spoiler warning for Westworld up to Season 4, Episode 3. If you have not seen this episode, you will not want to watch this video, otherwise some things will be spoiled for you. So, this episode was pretty intense. I think this might be my favorite of the season so far. We got the follow up on Bernard's story of him going into Sublime, something that was hinted at the end of season 3, but we hadn't had follow up on it until this episode, and I actually loved it. I loved the way it was filmed, the way it was shot, the way he had experienced this like very metaphorical experience where he's seeing images from the past, so we could get images and a lot of imagery from previous seasons, which was cool. And then finally, when it goes to the tower, which is tower that they've been hinting at all season, and he meets Akichita there, who's there in the Sublime, and he explains that there's many different worlds, and people can go live in whatever world that they want to, and that he is Bernard is choosing to live in a sort of world that more resembles reality because he has a lot of hang-ups that he's not willing to let go, but then Akichita is like, oh, I can give you this gift, and the gift is they're able to see like all possible future outcomes, kind of like Doctor Strange in Infinity War, where they can look at all these different outcomes. And so Bernard looks at them, and apparently humanity is like fucked in most of them. There's only a few possible outcomes where humanity survives, and in all of those outcomes, Bernard is killed. He dies. So Bernard has to help facilitate humanity's survival, so apparently they won't survive without him, but in order for him to do so, he has to sacrifice himself. So Akichita's like, look, why don't you just hang out here, you don't have to die, you can stay here and live in your own personal fantasy world, live where living the dream, live wherever you want to live. But Bernard's like, nah, I gotta save humanity. He's really stuck up on that, which is cool. So it's weird because Bernard comes back and he's basically becomes like a different version of Rehoboam, and I do like the season 3 sort of reference or feel to it, that because Rehoboam was seen as like the villain, the thing that they needed to destroy in order to free humanity, and then when they freed humanity, it's like, oh, this is such a great Fight Club moment or whatever. Oh, we freed humanity. Isn't this wonderful? But now because the whole reason Sirach created Rehoboam was to ensure humanity's survival. But in doing so, he enslaved the human race. So I think is not exactly the same thing, because Bernard is not enslaving the human race. He's not determining everyone's destiny. He's just doing what he knows needs to be done in order to save humanity. Which will affect the people around him, but it's not like the way where Rehoboam was controlling every single human being on the planet. But there's definitely that, so it's different, but there's definitely the same shades to it as it, which I love. I think that's really cool. And I do really like the scenes with Bernard when he comes back from the Sublime and he like can predict everything. He knows they're going to be out of a certain meat with Stubbs. And I am getting used to his relationship with Stubbs, where I'm still like, even though in earlier seasons I didn't like the fact they revealed he was a host, that was definitely an afterthought. They definitely weren't planning on doing that all along. But I'm kind of getting used to it now, and I do like their camaraderie. Their back and forth, I think, is kind of funny. So they go to the diner, and he knows everything that's going to happen, and he goes out in the parking lot and randomly kills these two guys. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why did he just randomly go kill these two people? But then we find out that they're not actually humans, that they're hosts, and that they were planning on infiltrating this group, which Bernard says is vital to humanity's survival. And particularly, he points to this woman that they met, he knew was going to show up, and it was like, she's very important to humanity's survival. Who these people are, I don't know. It's like there's these Mad Max type people who live in the middle of the desert. Now, the question is this taking place in the same timeline as the main storyline with the Man in Black and Caleb and Maeve and all that? Which I don't know. This could be, they didn't specify. Stubbs did say you were gone for years, and we knew that the present day story of the season takes place 8 years after season 3 ended, when Bernard went into the Sublime. So he could be referring to those 8 years, or maybe years is decades, and this is set further in the future. I don't actually know. I think I'm more willing to go with that this is taking place in the same timeline as everything else, because we see this host trying to infiltrate this group, and we do know that is Hale's MO at the moment. That's what she's trying to do. She's trying to replace human beings with hosts who are in high positions, so she's able to control humanity. Which is really interesting, and we get more of that in Caleb's storyline, where which at first I don't really care about seeing 20s world and seeing them reenact the same heist we saw them do in season 1 and 2 in different worlds. Like, I'm kind of over that, and plus how they have modern pops or rock songs and playing in the background with different versions of them. I'm really over that, to be honest. So I wasn't that interested in that, but I did like where the story took them, like once they went underground. And I do really love the chemistry, the camaraderie between Caleb and Maeve. That also really works, although I stand by my complaint that I feel distance from them because they got to know each other in between seasons. So there's this backstory between them that we, the audience, are not aware of. But it's still, but I still love the chemistry. I love how they sort of help each other out, because at one point there's everyone shooting guns that can't harm humans, but it can only harm hosts, so Maeve is in danger. But then later they deal with those flies, which don't care about hosts, they just want to, attack humans. So then Caleb was more vulnerable, and I did kind of like that camaraderie in the way they looked out for each other in these different situations. We also see that Maeve's power is becoming limited. Like in previous seasons, she could control all the hosts, but now I think Hale is aware of that and has made upgrades, which they implied in the first episode, that is kind of preventing her from doing so. But yeah, it turns out that this is all a trap that they knew was going to happen. But before I get to that, there was also that scene where they thought they were in the sort of underground behind the scene place of the park, but it was just another level of the park, more elite level of the park, where they reenacted the Westworld massacre. And they had a different host playing Dolores, and it was all just like an act for other, because we saw this a park attendee, as they say, mentioned, this is other level blah blah, so this is what they were talking about. And I do find that true to life, that people would actually want to do that, even though it was really fucked up, that they would want to reenact this massacre where all these people got killed. So I thought that was actually kind of funny. It was cool. But then so then they go and find that Caleb's daughter is there, and he's freaking out trying to get to her, and Maeve's freaking out trying to open the door. Now, the episode itself tries to fake us out to make us think that that's actually his daughter, because we get a storyline with his daughter and his mother, and the war buddy that Caleb sent to look after them was killed and replaced by a host, which I thought was really creepy, the reveal for that. It was like the way he was acting all weird all of a sudden. Like, that was actually really cool. I love the way that played out. But anyway, they have it so he's looking for the girl, and then he finds her, and then they cut to, oh, the girl's trapped in this prison cell. And because we know that Westworld likes to play with time, we could think, well, okay, so the scenes with his daughter happened earlier, and that's how his daughter got captured and taken to this place. But I knew, like, immediately that was a host impersonating his daughter. Like, I wasn't fooled. Episode, you didn't get me. It's like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh no, that's a host. Like, and yeah, it turned out that was right when he went in. And of course, as soon as Maeve started freaking out, like, no, I gotta tell him. I was like, obviously, what she needs to tell him is that's the host. But of course, this whole thing was a trap. So the Man in Black shows up to stop her, and they get into a huge fight. So the whole thing was a trap. It's like they knew that Maeve and Caleb would try to infiltrate this place. In fact, they were counting on it, and they used that. And the host version of his daughter explains that Hale wanted him. He didn't really want his daughter or wife. He wanted him. Now, why exactly she wants Caleb so badly, I'm not sure. I mean, Caleb, it could have something to do with whatever happened in between seasons, which again kind of irritates me that we're missing so much information. Or maybe it has something to do with Caleb's background as being a divergent of Rehoboam or whatever, and the fact that he was teamed up with Dolores in order to take Rehoboam down, and had this special relationship with Dolores, because you have to remember that Hale is Dolores. It's just a different version that went on a different path than our actual Dolores in season 3, who wanted to save humanity, where this version of Dolores wants to enslave it. So it's very interesting to learn why they want Caleb. But the scene where they had his daughter's head open up and flies came flying out of it, that creeped me the fuck out. That was a really effective horror scene. In fact, the whole concept of these flies that fly into your head and mind control you and make you shoot yourself, this is scary shit. This is really powerful horror shit. I don't like insects and I hate flies, and so it creeps me the fuck out. So this episode's really effective in that way. As I said, I really like the tone of it. It really got me enthralled to what's gonna happen. Now, I think I do need to mention that this episode did not feature Christina, her storyline at all, which I kind of like. I did like having a break from it and focus on Bernard to see what he's up to. But it's still, I had my theory that the thing with Christina going on that's in the Sublime is not out yet, because when they actually went to the Sublime, they explained that there's many different worlds. And so the Christina stuff could just be a different world, maybe the one Teddy went into. So that's still a possibility, but I still don't think it's likely. I'm still leaning towards it actually being a park somewhere, maybe in the distant future again. Maybe they're playing. See, it's hard to know with Westworld what takes place when, because they love to fuck with different timelines. So that's, or it could be contemporary present times and it's just something going on somewhere else. But I think to me that's the least likely. I think it's most likely that this is a distant future or whatever, or past. I don't know. It's hard to say with Westworld, which is why, of course, we like the show so much, because it's keeps you guessing as to what the hell is going on. Anyway, my rating for Annie Folles out of 10 is a 9. Excellent. I did really like this episode. I think it's just the tone of it, even though it didn't do that much to push the story forward overall, the tone of it really worked for me. I was fascinated to learn with Bernard knowing everything in the future and trying to save humanity, while at the same time Caleb falling into the trap, which was really effective horror storytelling. It really, really worked. So yeah, so I can't wait to see where they go. Oh, and also a few other things I wanted to mention before I head out is that the in the previous episode there was the homeless guy in the Christina storyline who was like, "Do you hear it? It's coming from the tower. Only I can hear it." And in this episode, we had that noise that only Maeve or only Host could hear. Or Maeve could hear it, and Caleb couldn't hear it. So it does make you wonder. And that noise was used to control human beings. So it does also make you wonder if there's some mind control element going on in the Christine storyline. Maybe this is a future where Hale like prevailed and is controlling all of humanity. I don't know. I don't know, but it's more interesting fodder to think about. And then you also think that the whole purpose of the 1920s world, or whatever you want to call it, is there so the rich and powerful people go visit the park, and Hale can replace them, or infect them with flies and control them, or simply replace them with hosts. And so basically that's her whole plan to sort of control humanity, which is diabolical, as one might say. Anyway, so that's it for my review of Season 4, Episode 3 of Westworld. I will be back next week to cover next episodes of Westworld and thereafter. So check out my channel for that. Also check out my channel as I cover many other shows like all things Star Trek, Star Wars Rebels, Better Call Saul, The Expanse, and more. So be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that. And thanks a lot for watching.